Hey there, people. We're here for Married at First Sight, Season 15, Episode 14. I call this one a prom for Lindy. But the episode's title is No Hug for You. So we're going to start with Mitch. Mitch and Lindy. No, Mitch and Christian. Mitch won the episode. Mitch won this episode. I was so proud of him. So we're going to start from Poolgate. So from the last episode, Mitch and Christian are coming off of the whole pool incident where Dr. Pepper and them, had to come in and talk to them. And then they're getting ready for this final couples trip. And so they kind of flashback to what their conversation was like after the party in the apartment. And Christian is in there sounding, just whiny, and, she wasn't standing on all of her femininity and saying it with her whole chest when she was in that apartment, like she was when she was down at the pool. So I thought that was interesting. And I felt energy kind of going back and forth between them. So like Mitch is taking, responsibility for not going to talk to her after he talked to her sister. She's saying that she's taking responsibility for the way that she handled it. So I didn't hear any specifics. Like, I could have came and talked to you about it, Mitch, before I went and talked to other people, about it in the group. I just still feel like she's trying to hold on to some kind of justification. And I put some of those clips down there so you guys can go and look at, some of it, for yourself. They gave Mitch, this whole thing, this was a themed event to give Lindy an opportunity to experience prom. So they had different prom themed things there, like the pictures, the yearbook, the prom king and queen, most likely to do whatever. And so Mitch got an award for most likely to save the planet. And after, I really I did some thinking. And I've watched a few seasons of Married at First Sight. And I'm sure people come on these reality shows with their agenda. I will have to say for Mitch, I'm going to give him a big shout out and a kudos for coming on here, being him, and still getting out the message of environmentalism. I actually admire that. I think that if you're going to do something like a Married at First Sight, that having that level of agenda, and I'm not accusing him of having an agenda, I'm just saying, I see it as organic. But I'm saying if you're going to come on here with an agenda, then this would be a good one to have, is to, talk about environmentalism and get people, involved in that level, of conversation. So, just for that, I'm going to give Mitch, the episode. But I'm also going to give him extra because he actually went through this episode, I think, pretty even keel. He said he forgave Christian, for not having his back. She just left him out there. And then in the car, she said that, he's saying something to her that he's never said before. And I actually don't think that that's true. I think that Mitch has been communicating himself to Christian, and I feel like she was using that as an opportunity to try to get past it. And she just used it to fold it all in there. Oh, well, you finally told me that I'm attractive, so now I don't have to worry about that word anymore. Okay, Christian. So, I thought it was interesting, too, when Christian was doing she was kind of like the MC, and Alexis was being her co-host. So she was Pat Sajak, and I guess Alexis was her Vanna White kind of thing. But Christian came up with this category of most likely to be divorced multiple times. And this was really interesting because Mitch thought that she was talking about Morgan and Ben, which was really stupid because Morgan and Ben weren't even there. So the awards were for people who were there. And so you can see him kind of working through his mind because she kept talking. She was like, this person is this, that, and the third. And she's this and she's that. And he was like, are we talking about my wife here? And it was her. It was her. And Mitch said that that was interesting for him because he often makes jokes like that. And Christian gets mad about it. So I think this was an opportunity for both of them so that she could see how stupid she looks when she acts like Mitch. And then Mitch can understand how hurtful it can be when he's being stupid and telling stupid jokes, and how it can land on you and you're like, wait a minute, that's not funny at all. So he actually got a chance to get some of his taste of his own medicine. And we'll see, if Christian gets anything out of it, because she was off on her own thing. And I don't know if she was able to connect her words and her behavior together at that time. So it'll be interesting to see what her conversation is like post this whole trip, situation. But he was talking about Morgan. He was like, Morgan. And then he said something about Muay Thai. And he was laughing, So I guess he thought that was going to be an opportunity for him to laugh at her. But the joke turned around. And I wonder how did it taste, once it got past his taste buds and it started to get down into his throat. Because, taste and flavors change as they move through your palate. So it can start off tasting one way, and then by the time it gets down, past, like I said, your taste bud, as it's heading down to your stomach, it can have a whole different, kind of flavor. So we'll see. So they did a couple of things. It was archery, and I put this clip down there, too. So the person running the whole thing, for them said, write down a word and, use it as a symbolic gesture, for a target. And so Christian chose attractiveness, and then Mitch chose pool game. So the deal is that once they put those arrows through it, then they can't bring it up anymore. So we can't hear Christian crying about this no more, and that's it. So the clock is ticking on how long that's going to be able to last, because I can't see Christian letting too much go. So the other thing that I would say that helped Mitch win this episode is like when Christian was doing the jokes, she dressed up and she was acting like, she was Mitch, and he was fine. I was so proud of him that he was able to kind of join in and just enjoy, the joke for what it was, and not try to, read anything into it. Because I could see if that was Miguel being the way that he was this episode, Lindy wouldn't have been able to get away with that. So when they were talking in the kitchen with the girls, they were asking Christian, is she still on a break, from sex with Mitch? And she was like, yeah, because she, still wants to feel connected and, whatever it is. I might clip it, I might not. But she gave her rationale. And I'm really kind of over Christian, right now. I don't trust too much coming out of her mouth. I just don't trust what's coming out of her mouth. So, when Mitch was talking to the guys and he was telling them about it, he was like, yeah, I could see him rubbing his hands. He was like, yeah, this is a dead subject, because if she brings it up, to him again, then it's going to cause a problem. I mean, like, she's gotten away with not having to be accountable for her conversation, on the honeymoon. She's gotten away with that. So let's see if she's going to be able to finish out this season. Let's see how she's going to be able to finish out the season with her conversation. So, I guess the next people I would go to is Stasha and Nate because I don't have too much for them. Some people said I didn't like Stasha's dress. I thought her dress looked good. Nate is the one that looks the same. I mean, it's like this dude, where is your fashion? Because when he was on the honeymoon, I thought his fashion was pretty good. And now that he's back in San Diego, I feel like he goes to the turtleneck, too much. And it's just too much of a go-to. He needs to switch it up, with this evening look. And this whole thing with their sex. I said it last time. I'm gonna say it again. This is the confusion with Christians because it's nice and it's really healthy for couples to have a healthy sex life and healthy sex play with each other, and they seem like they've really been able to do this. My thing is they've put this information out there, and production has taken it and has really shown them in a light that I'm sure that Stasia, especially if this doesn't work out. So when I'm looking at this kind of stuff, I'm looking at it thinking, I hope this works out for her because I can really kind of see Nate going back looking at these episodes and the way that production has sliced this stuff up. And I can see Judge Nate. I can see Judge Nate, but then I also can see that he was there in the process and he knows how production can, make things seem one way. So hopefully, they'll be able to get through this. I don't know how this is going to affect, them going forward. It's just something that it's not a Proverbs 31 woman. I don't see a Proverbs 31 woman doing the stuff that Stasha, is doing. So this is the kind of stuff that Christians need to realize before they walk around with these crosses on their neck and start, putting scripture, all over their bodies so that, they can announce to the world their belief. But then what is your belief in? Because for Christianity, the goal and the standard is supposed to be for women, Proverbs 31. So just, asking Nate, not Nate, but Stasha and Alexis. I actually think that with all of Alexis's talk, and she's inappropriate, talking about their celibacy and, all of it's just a lot. And I'm over it. I really honestly am. So, I think they kind of got through this weekend pretty much, under the radar. And so we'll see how that goes. I am going to clip Nate and his judgment of Alexis because she got the award for the gossip. So he's still holding on to wanting to blame Alexis for Morgan and Ben not working, but he's not blaming Ben when Ben was the one that started the whole thing in the first place. So, whatever, Nate. So, yeah, let's look at Justin and Alexis. So, they did the do. Justin abstinent for a year and a half. Everybody's looking at him like, man, you look good. You look relaxed. And he's not trying to accept this information that people are giving him. So when he and Alexis, when they have their date, they go to a vineyard and they're talking. And so Alexis is like, oh, how do you feel now with your post-coital glow that you got going on? And he's like, oh, yeah, well, I don't think I'm different. Man, Justin, just admit that you are in a different place. You can't have something metaphysical happen like sex and then say that you're the same way today that you was yesterday when you haven't engaged in this behavior in a year and a half. I mean, nobody's going to accept that. Especially with you running around talking about how hard she made you. See, that was information we didn't need. And this is the problem, Christians. This is the problem. It was interesting because when they were getting ready to go on the trip, he was talking about playing board games and this, that, and the third. See, this is the part that I was talking about last week, because Alexa was looking at him like, man, ain't nobody trying to be up there playing no board games. What are you talking about? Justin, he is disconnected. His wife is on 10. This woman wants to have fun. She wants to go out and do stuff. She does not want to sit home and play board games. I mean, you might be able to get away with that, in the wintertime. You might. When stuff is frozen and you can't really get out and y'all live next to each other and y'all, want to get together for a holiday party or whatnot, you might be able to get away with that then, Justin. But, I mean, nobody is really interested in doing that kind of activity, especially at the age group, that they're in. So I thought that was, interesting. At the vineyard, he was talking about that his vision, looking at them, was for long term. And he said that he hasn't given his all in the relationship because, from what I understood, he was saying that the problems that he's going to have to encounter with her in the future are in the future. They haven't happened yet. So he is not able to give 100% to a problem that hasn't come up yet. I think that it's poor wording. I think Mitch did the same thing when he was talking to Christian, where he was saying that there are things that are going to come up, for them after. He gave like an example with the paper towels. Like, we're living now, we're using paper towels, but I'm not down with using paper towels in my regular, life. So, but then he was also saying, like with Justin, there are things that are going to come up that we don't know that are problems yet. So he's forecasting that kind of stuff, but still also talking about tangible things that are going to change when they leave, the experiment at the same time. So Justin, I feel, was having one of his moments where he felt like he understood what he was saying, but it wasn't a clear communication to her about what he meant. And that interferes with their ability to be able to carry intimacy on, because he is challenged with his words, at times. And then, he goes back and forth with wanting to do this male thing, Man, you happy that you got some from your wife, because y'all only a couple more weeks into this, and she could have left you without doing anything with you. She didn't have to engage, in this activity, with you, Justin. So don't act like, yeah, man, it is what it is. No, cousin, I'm not taking that, from you. You sound ridiculous, and you just need to go ahead and admit it. That you happy you had sex with your wife, and just let it go. And take the ribbing. Alexis asked him, well, when is enough? And this is the part that I think I'm going to try, maybe the clip if I can remember it. And he was saying to her that when she says stuff like that is the thing that triggers his fear. Because he thinks that she's going to get to a point where she's like, yeah, cousin, deuces. And, I mean, I see it from both sides. I mean, it's like, Justin, you're going to have to step up this level of energy if you want to keep this level of woman attracted to you. You can't just settle in and lean back on your laurels, because you don't have any. You don't have any laurels. All this, I just want to sit at home and do Netflix and chill. You're going to have to step it up, Justin. I don't see it being successful if he wants to stay where he is and then thinks that she's supposed to conform herself just totally, to him, while he's not, moving out of his comfort and being able to meet her, where she needs to be in a marriage, as well. So we'll see. We'll see what goes on, with them. Okay. So we're already at Miguel and Lindy. Okay. This is cool. Quick episode. Miguel said that he actually, I think, came up with the whole prom idea. So this was really interesting that he wasn't able to kind of put himself on the shelf and just let her have that night. Whatever it is that she want that night. If she want to take pictures, fine, take pictures. If she, whatever it is, this was supposed to be her time to enjoy prom. And if he said that this was a goal, then he should have met her with the energy to allow that, to happen. On the thing with Lindy, though, I can't understand why he was annoyed with her, because in the audio that we heard, I thought she was sounding extra, asking him, and saying, I don't want that. And he was like, yeah, I thought it was very calm in the way that he told her. And when you get ready to tell somebody something that they don't want to hear, there's really nothing. There's really no way that you can really verbalize something negative to a person. They're going to take it in a negative way. It doesn't matter how quiet. That's what I was thinking about, like with Ben. When he was like, well, when somebody's calling me out, I want them to use a tone that's calm. Like the tone that we're using right now to have this conversation. Even if Morgan had come to Ben, with that, he still would have felt some kind of way, because you feel some kind of way when somebody comes to you with negative information. It's just a human response to negativity. And so I'm not sure that it would have been taken any better if she had, changed her tone, with him. Probably would have gave him less reason to go out and say, oh, well, she's this and she's that. But I don't know. I mean, the jury's out with Ben, because he should have been more of an adult about his situation. And I think that Miguel is trying. I think that by the time they got to the dodgeball, he was just jacked up. He was jacked up. He was all over the place. And he was being what he considers Lindy. He was whining, and he was bitching about something that wasn't even a problem. Just play the game, Miguel. I mean, and Lindy, she was doing just like she did with that axe throwing. She was lighting his butt up in a dodgeball. Her and Nate, they got together. I think it was her, Nate, Alexis. I know they were the main three. And they got it done. And Miguel was just all in his feelings. Like I said, by the time we got to the end of the episode, I did think that there was like a cross point with what each of them, was saying. Like, the first part of the show, he had a point. He's like, well, you said that you were joking, but now you're telling me that you were frustrated, you felt this, you felt that, you felt this. So none of these things that you're saying that you felt sounds anything like joking. And she was like, well, I thought that you were joking. So that's when I was feeling some kind of way, because I thought that I didn't want you to joke. So then is she joking, trying to counteract what she think? And I understood what Miguel was saying. It's like, well, you're either were joking or you were feeling some kind of way about it. And what I picked up in your tone is that you was feeling some kind of way about it. But then you're trying to cover it up by telling me it was a joke. So don't gaslight me, with this. Just say whatever it is and where you are, and then we can deal with it, from there. So then on the flip, when they're looking at the sunset, and I think Lifetime has this clip up, you can go back and look at it, on their thing, where she's like, oh, well, she asked the producer, could the producer take the picture? So one thing I noticed is, I'm sure she didn't talk to the producer about taking the picture the same way that she talked to Miguel with that tone in the hotel room. So that was one. And then number two, my thing is, Miguel, were you angry? Were you angry that she chose to ask the producer to take the picture instead of asking you? Because if you are angry about this, and like I said, if Lifetime didn't put it up, then I'll clip it and put it so you can watch it, for yourself. So if he was angry and he's telling her that he wasn't angry, and she's looking at him like, dude, you were angry. Just go ahead and admit it. If that is true, then Miguel is doing the same thing at this moment that he accused Lindy of, earlier. She's right. If you're telling me not to gaslight you, then you shouldn't be up here trying to gaslight me, because you know that you was mad And I know that you was mad, so just go ahead. So it was just a crazy back and forth between Miguel and Lindy. And I understand that Lindy thinks that Miguel hasn't seen her. He's heard enough out of her. He's heard her with that baby. He's seen her like with other little episodes where she'll, blow up and then she'll be like, okay, let me calm down. But he doesn't even want the blow up. He wants you to do some self-regulation before it even gets to a blow up where you would even have to come back and say, oh, I'm sorry, that I had that. So when they were doing the carriage ride, Miguel knows good and well, if he goes back and look at this, you can't bring something that's unfinished. I mean, you brought her on this carriage ride to enjoy it, to connect with her surroundings. Then you're going to bring up this poem that you'd have made that you haven't even figured it out yet. It's clipped. Go look at it. His cadence was off. And, it was just off. And so that's why she wasn't into it, Miguel. But then Lindy, if the man is trying to express himself to you, and you knew that he was trying to express himself to you, because when you was doing your in and out thing, you were like, oh, okay, well, thank you for sharing. Oh, yeah, well, you were telling me that you were going to, is this Dungeons and Dragons? And you can't bring up those kind of conversations and then turn around and laugh at somebody, talk about they got their iPhones out taking a selfie. That was nothing to interrupt him for. You asked him a question about a subject that you know he could pontificate on for a while. And then when he starts talking about it, you're breaking his concentration to talk about people taking selfies with an iPhone. I mean, do you hear yourself, Lindy? So, yeah, this was just a ridiculous, episode. We'll see, with this whole thing. Looks like going forward. But yeah, I thought that Miguel was really onto something when he told her to read the room. I mean, she was saying after the prom thing or either before the prom thing. I think when they were driving up or something. She was like, yeah, well, I hope that we get a chance, to really get together and, have the togetherness. But Lindy, if you're not paying attention to your husband, then the time that y'all are spending together is not going to be anything. Like he's saying, read the room, read him, check him out. Be like, oh, I know he's tired. Give him a minute. Ask him, how are you holding up? Communicate. So I just thought that the person I was the most proud of this episode was Mitch. I put Alexis next because she actually took the criticism that people have given her about Ben and Morgan. And I think that's about it, because Nate gets on my nerves. Christian is on my nerves. Justin is on my nerves. And yeah, so Mitch and Alexis, I thought they did the best this past episode. So, okay, guys, get with y'all. Really would like to hear what people have to say, in the comments. And until the next video.